Welcome everyone. Today we'll be discussing leadership, different theories and styles regarding the same. I am Ms. Ila Rai, Assistant Professor of IIMT College of Management. In this session, we will discuss what do we understand by leadership, how is it different from management, what are the different theories of leadership, what are the different leadership styles, and then we will discuss few terms like charismatic leadership, transactional leadership, transformational leadership. And in the end, we will also discuss what are the ways we can create or discover a leader. So let us begin by first a leadership story. So there was a group of workers and their leaders asked them to clear a road on an island. There was a thick jungle and their leader asked them to clear a road through that so that they can provide a perfect site for the port. Leaders did everything right. They provided the labor they divided the labor into efficient unit. They monitored and distributed the work among them. The progress was also very excellent. The workers were working very well. The leaders also monitored the task, evaluated the progress the workers were making, and made adjustment along the way so that they can work efficiently whenever it is possible. Then among all this duration when the work was going on, one of the workers, he climbed one of the tree and surveyed the scene from top of the tree. And he shouted from the top of the tree, "Wrong way." This story is incorporated from 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. What this story tells us is that management is doing right thing, whereas leadership is doing the right thing. So prior to this, the leaders, they were doing all the things which were right. They were dividing the work efficiently. They were making their workers work efficiently. They were doing all the things right. But what they were not doing was the right thing. That is going to the right path to make the port on the island. This brings us to the concept of leadership. Leadership is the ability to influence a group towards achievement of goal. It is the ability to motivate a group of people to achieve a certain goal. And this motivation comes from the drive which the leader generates within the person. Leadership is very different from the concept of management. Management is the use of authority, which is by the designation a person is holding, by the formal rank a person is holding. And because of this authority, the members are compiled to follow that manager. Whereas leadership does not come from the authority or designation you are holding. A leader can be a simple individual within the rank who's able to motivate and influence a group of people to achieve a goal. Now, there are different theories of leadership. The first theory of leadership is the trait theory of leadership. The trait theory of leadership works on a very simple concept, and it's a very old theory of leadership. This theory states that leaders are born and not made. So the theory states that there are few characteristics which are in your personality or your social behavior or your physical attributes or your intellectual trait, which differentiate a person into a leader as compared to someone who's not a leader. So if you have XYZ characteristic, you are a leader. If you don't have those characteristics, you're not a leader. This is what trait theory of leadership wants to say. So few of the traits which trait theory of leadership states that a leader should have is extroversion, openness, emotional intelligence, and consciousness. It works on the assumption that leaders are born. So if you are born with certain qualities, then you are destined to become a leader. It also works with the goal that it helps the managers, it helps the people to understand who will be leaders and who will not be leaders. So among group of 10 people, you can differentiate that A, B, C has these qualities of a leader. Therefore, they are leaders, and others, they don't have these traits of leadership. Therefore, they are not leaders. Now, what is the problem with trait theory? There are two basic problems with trait theory. First, you cannot generalize across the situation. If, for example, I do not have some physical attribute of a leader, that does not mean that I cannot become a good leader. This is what essentially makes trait theory of leadership a drawback. That if you do not have it says that if you do not have certain traits, you cannot become a leader, but you cannot generalize this to everybody possible. The second problem with trait theory of leadership is that it is better at predicting the emergence of leader rather than predicting the effectiveness of leader. So it can help you to predict how a leader will emerge. That if ABC has these traits, they will become a leader. But it will not help you to know that how good of a leader ABC would be because of the presence of these traits. This brings us to the next theory, which is behavioral theory. Trait theory works on the concept that leaders are born and not made, and the behavioral theory is the opposite of it. It says that leaders' behaviors can be taught. Therefore, leaders are made and not born. They says that there are specific behavior which is present in an individual which differentiate a leader from a non-leader. The third type of theory in leadership theory is contingency theory. Contingency theory works on a situation base. So there are certain situations which gives birth to leaders. So it says that leaders are neither born nor made, they arises because of situations. So there are three different models under contingency theory. First is Fiedler contingency theory. Second is Hersey and Blanchard situational leadership model. And third is path goal theory. We will discuss this in detail in the coming slide. Let us start with Fiedler model. Fiedler model was given by F. Fiedler, and F. Fiedler said that leader's style is fixed. In a given continuum, it can be on two extremes. First, it could either be task-oriented. That means a leader is only and only concerned about achieving the goals. He has no regard or no concern about the emotions or relations with their subordinates. Or on the opposite of this continuum could be relationship-oriented. That leader is only concerned with building relations and not concerned with achieving goals. So these are the two opposites of continuum on which a leadership style is based. It says that the leadership style is based on the relation between leaders and members, what is the task structure, and what is the position power. So it says that there are few key assumptions on which Fiedler model is based. First, the basic key assumption is that in any situation, the leader must fit that situation. Leader must be able to adapt to that situation. Leader must be able to show the characteristic and strength which is required in that situation. It can happen in two manners. Either you select a leader who fit the situation, or you change the situation to fit the leader. But the basic assumption is that leader must fit the situation. It also works on assumption that a leadership style is fixed and it can be measured with least preferred co-worker questionnaire. What is least preferred co-worker questionnaire? Least preferred co-worker is a person who is least preferred by the leader to work with. The least preferred co-worker questionnaire tells us which individual is least preferred by the leader to work with, and hence tells us the style of leadership. Either that person is relationship oriented or that person is task oriented leader. It has also given the concept of, now we move to Hersey and Blanchard situational leadership theory. This model says that a leadership style is based on followers' readiness. The more willing and able the follower is, the less leader's support is required. So there are two extreme ends, as you can see in the diagram. If the amount of followers' readiness or acceptance or willingness to follow a leader is low, then the leader has to put high amount of supervision and support to the followers. But if the amount of followers' readiness is high, then the leader has to put low supervision and less effort in this situation. Hersey and Blanchard also gave us leadership style, 4 leadership style based on the followers' readiness. So as you can see in the diagram, there are 4 boxes which first is able. On one side, we have able and unable. On the second side, we have unwilling and willing. If a follower is able to perform the task, that means he has all the qualities and knowledge to perform the task, but he is unwilling to perform the task, then the style of leader should be supportive leadership style. That means the leader should supportively, participatively nudge the follower to accept the situation and perform the required task. If the follower is able to perform the task and also willing to perform the task, then the leadership style is monitoring. This means that leader does not has to do a lot of work. He only has to monitor whatever the follower is performing. If the follower is unable to perform the task, that means he does not have the proper knowledge to perform the task, neither is he willing to perform. That is, he is unwilling to perform the task. Then the leadership style should be directive. This means that he should be properly given orders and directions on how to perform step by step the task, so that he gets the basic knowledge and confidence that he will be able to perform the given task. And the fourth style of leadership is in the case of followers unable to perform the task, that is, he does not have the knowledge, but he is willing, he has the motivation to do. Then he has to, then the leadership style has to be high task and relationship oriented. That means the leader has to work on giving the knowledge to the followers so that they perform the task efficiently. The third type of theory in situational leadership theory is path goal theory. Path goal theory works on a premises that a leader's job is not to lead somebody to performing a task. His job is to simply lay down the path in achieving a goal. A leader has to simply tell the follower what is to be done and how it is to be done, and reduce the roadblocks in the path so that the goal can be achieved successfully. Leaders must change the behavior to fit the situation. They have to remove any environmental contingency, and they have to remove any subordinate contingency beforehand so that the follower can achieve the goal perfectly or to the success. Now we move on to types of leadership style. So we have discussed till now the theories, what is leadership, difference between leadership and management, theories of leadership, and now types of leadership style. So there are 4 types of leadership style: autocratic, democratic, participative, laissez-faire, and paternalistic. Autocratic leadership style refers to the style where leaders make all the decisions without considering anybody else or without taking into consideration the opinion of their followers. So everyone has a very high dependency on the leader to take a decision. This situation can create demotivation and alienation of the staff, because staff feels that nobody hears them and their opinion is of no value. This style of leadership is valuable in those situations where the decision has to be taken very quickly and the decisive style should be very perfect. That is the only situation where autocratic leadership style works. The opposite of autocratic leadership style is democratic leadership style. Democratic leadership style means that the leader takes the decision after taking into consideration the opinion of all their followers. So everybody gets a right to say their opinion before taking any decision. This opinion can be taken into 2 forms. First is consultative, where the leaders consult before the decision is taken. Second is persuasive. This means that leader takes a decision and then persuade their followers to accept that given decision. This helps create motivation and involvement into the organization. The members feel that they are also part of the entire decision making, and because of this, they feel that they have ownership in the firm and they give their 100% to achieve the goals. It also improves sharing of ideas and experiences within the process. The only demerit with democratic leadership is that it can delay in decision making because the leader has to take into consideration the opinion of all of the followers. The third style of leadership is laissez-faire. Laissez-faire means let it be. It means that leadership responsibility is not of a single person, but the leadership responsibility is shared by everyone. It can be very useful in businesses where creative ideas are very important. That means the creative ideas are very useful. So everybody takes things out of the box and takes decision. It leads to people being highly motivational because people have more control over their life and they make better decisions and good coordination. They also have good teamwork and good interpersonal relations. The issue with this is that it is a very time consuming process and it lacks an overall direction because there is not a single leader, but everyone is acting in the capacity of a leader. The last style of leadership is paternalistic style. Paternalistic style means that the leader acts as a father figure. So a leader assumes the responsibility of a father figure for their followers, and they think that they are responsible for the well-being of their followers. So the paternalistic leader, he makes all the decisions, but during the process, he may consult the followers. He may also not consult the followers. And while consulting, he may take into consideration their ideas, and he may also reject their ideas. So paternalistic style of leader believes that he needs to support the staff and he needs to be the backbone of the whole leadership follower dynamic. Now, what are the factors which affect style? It can depend upon various factors. First is risk. Risk means that decision making, how risky is the decision? If the decision is very risky, then one can follow autocratic style of leadership. Or if the decision is not risky, if the decision does not have a lot of risk involved, then they can go for democratic or laissez-faire. Second is type of business. What type of business are you working with? If you are working in a creative business, then laissez-faire style of leadership is more suited. But if you are working in a supply-driven or a business where quick decision-making is required, then autocratic decision-making is the way to go. The third is how important change is. Are you making a change for just making a change for change's sake, or is it really important? If the change is really important, then democratic or laissez-faire style should be adopted. If the change is not important and it is just made for the sake of making change, then autocratic style of leadership can be adopted. Fourth is the organization culture. What is the organization culture? The history of organization culture also plays very important role in determining the style. If the history of organization culture has been that of autocratic style, then the future leader also have to follow autocratic style because it is very difficult to bring the changes into embedded policies and culture. And fifth is nature of task. Does the task need cooperation? Does the task need direction? So if the requirement of cooperation and direction is high, then you have to provide the autocratic style. But if the task does not require that much cooperation, does not require that much direction, you can also work with democratic or laissez-faire style. This brings me to the concept of framing. Framing means using words to shape meanings and inspire others. So we all have in our lifetime once or twice heard a speech which was very moving to us. The words which were used in speech, we could resonate with them and it inspired us to take action. Leaders use framing as a way of motivating the people. They can, by framing, they can selectively include facts or exclude facts to influence how others see and interpret reality. Now, charismatic leadership theory. Charismatic leadership theory means that the followers make attribution of heroic or extraordinary leadership abilities when they observe certain behaviors. For example, Lord Krishna. So when we saw Lord Krishna and he matched the given behaviors, we made a very heroic or extraordinary leader out of him. So a charismatic leader has a vision. He is willing to take personal risk. He is sensitive to followers' need and exhibit the behaviors that are different from other people. The key characteristic of charismatic leaders are that they have vision. That means that vision of they can see future, they can see what the future want to be, and they can also put that vision into perfectly worded sentences so that they can motivate and bring action into the lives of people. They are also willing to take personal risk, and they are also willing to self-sacrifice so that they can achieve their vision. They are also very sensitive to their environment. They know what the environmental constraints are. They know the requirement of resources that are needed to bring the change, and they are ready to bring those uh, assessments into action. They are also very sensitive to followers. They know who their followers are. They understand what their followers want, and they understand what are their feelings and needs. So they are very responsive towards that. And they exhibit very unconventional behaviors. So they break the norms and they exhibit behaviors which are not very normal for other people. So they exhibit different types of behavior. We also come to the concept of transactional and transformational leadership. Transactional leaderships are those leaders, transactional leaders are those leaders who guide or motivate their followers in the direction of established goals by clarifying role and task requirement. So what they do is they give a reward which a person can achieve after following or after delivering a particular result. So it's a give and take relationship. You give the result, you get the reward. That is how transactional leader work. They work on transaction basis, that they will give you reward when you will give them result. Whereas transformational leaders, they work on 4 I's: idealized influence, individualized consideration, intellectual stimulation, and inspirational motivation. So what are the characteristics of transactional leader? They work on contingent rewards. They avoid making decisions. They give the power of making decisions to other people. They intervene only when the standards are not met. Whereas transformational leaders, they provide vision and sense of mission to their followers. They internally motivate their followers to bring the changes which is required. So they use symbol to focus on effort. They express important purpose in very simple manner, and they promote rationality and careful problem solving. They also give personal attention to each employees individually. So all the employees who follow transformational leaders, they feel that they are responsible for any action they have to take, and they are responsible to bring the changes. Where in transactional leadership, the follower does not feel that they are responsible. They only work to achieve a certain reward. There is also concept of authentic leader and ethical leader. Ethical leaders are those leaders who use ethical means to get followers to achieve their goals. And authentic leaders are those leaders who know who they are, what they believe in, and act on those values openly and candidly. We also come to the concept of trust. When we talk leadership, trust is very important. So what are the different dimensions of trust? Integrity, loyalty, competence, openness, and consistency. There are 3 types of trust. First is deterrence-based trust. Deterrence-based trust means that an individual trusts another person on the basis of fear. They fear that if they will not follow the other person, there will be some repercussion, and to avoid that repercussion, they provide their trust to other person. Second type of trust is knowledge-based trust. Knowledge-based trust means that trust is based on the predictability, based on the history of interaction. So individual trusts another person because of their past history of interaction, and they knows that they can, because of their past history, they know that they have shown the sign of trust, and therefore the future also they can show trust in them. The third type of trust is identification-based trust. It means that the trust is based on mutual understanding of one another's intention. So you understand what is the other person's intention, you agree with that person's intention, and then you provide them trust. Basic principle of trusts are mistrust drives out trust. So if there is any mistrust in the followers, you will not have any trust. If a single person has mistrust in your leadership, all of the followers will start having mistrust. So mistrust drives out trust. The second principle of trust is trust begets trust. So similarly, if among all your followers, a single person starts trusting you, the other followers will join them and start trusting you. The third principle is growth often masks mistrust. So even if followers have mistrust on you and you are growing, then still it can mask the mistrust among the followers. Fourth principle is decline tests the highest level of trust. So if there is any downsizing, if there is any decline happening in the organization, that is the biggest test of trust. If you can create trust in this environment, then you can create trust in any given environment. Trust increases cohesion. So if you have trust among your followers, there is a common trust between your followers and yourself, it will lead to better teamwork and better credibility. Mistrusting groups self-destruct. So if there is mistrusting group, it will automatically stop achieving their goals and it will automatically self-destruct. And mistrust generally reduces productivity. Now, team leadership roles. Team leadership role means that a leader in a team works as a liaison between external and internal environment. So he acts as a single point of contact for external and internal environment. He serves as a troubleshooter. That means that whenever there is a problem, he solves that problem and acts only when there is a given problem in the team. He also manages the conflict and coaches the team to improve their performance. The another contemporary leadership role is mentoring. Mentor is a senior employee who sponsors and supports a less experienced employee. This less experienced employee is called a protege. The third contemporary leadership role is self-leadership. It is a set of process through which individuals control their own behavior. Now we come to the end of our slide, that is finding and creating effective leaders. How can we find and create effective leaders? The first step is selection. One should review what are the specific requirements for the given job. Use tests to identify personal traits associated with leadership. These tests can be self-monitoring and also such as assessing emotional intelligence, and conduct interviews to determine a candidate's fit for the job. When you have selected a person who shows the leadership qualities or leadership trait, you can start training them. You have to recognize that all people are not equally trainable. So somebody can be on level 1 and the other person can be on level 3. So you have to provide them different type of training based on their level. You have to teach them skills that are necessary for employees to become effective leader and provide behavioral training to increase development potential for nascent charismatic employee. This is all from my end. Thank you.